The question of whether there is truly no safe amount of processed meat has become one of the most hotly debated issues in modern nutrition science. For decades, global dietary guidelines have generally advised people to limit their intake of processed meats such as bacon, sausages, hot dogs, and deli meats, rather than eliminate them outright. But more recent analyses, including those by the World Health Organization, WHO, and various cancer research agencies, suggest that even minimal consumption may come with measurable risks, especially concerning colorectal cancer, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes. So how serious is the danger, and should we be reconsidering the idea that occasional indulgence is harmless? The scientific warning bells began ringing more loudly after a 2015 report from the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IRC, which classified processed meats as a Group 1 carcinogen, the same category as tobacco smoke and asbestos, based on sufficient evidence that they cause colorectal cancer in humans. What's critical to understand is that this classification isn't about the degree of risk, but about the certainty of a causal link. Processed meats contain compounds like nitrates, nitrites, and heterocyclic amines that can damage DNA and promote cancer formation. While the absolute risk is lower than for heavy smoking, the implication is troubling. Regular consumption, even in small amounts, may elevate lifetime cancer risk. The danger is not only limited to cancer. Multiple cohort studies have found that processed meats are associated with higher risks of heart disease, likely due to their high sodium content, oxidative stress from preservatives, and potential impact on blood vessel function. There's also evidence that these foods may influence insulin resistance, increase systemic inflammation, and contribute to metabolic dysfunction, especially when consumed frequently. Importantly, these effects are observed even at intake levels considered moderate or within acceptable dietary limits in many national food policies. Critics of zero-tolerance approaches argue that the actual increase in risk from small amounts, say 1 or 2 servings a week, is relatively modest, and that other lifestyle factors such as smoking, exercise, and body weight are far more influential. That's partly true, and it's essential not to fall into the trap of nutritional fatalism, where people feel every small choice is do or die. Context matters. But cumulative risk is real, and when choices are habitual, like a daily ham sandwich or bacon breakfast, the danger adds up over time, even if each portion seems negligible. The more conservative recommendation emerging from newer research is to treat processed meats as something to be minimized, not just moderated. That's a subtle but powerful shift in messaging. While traditional guidelines might say limit to 1 serving per week, newer evidence suggests there's no biologically defined threshold below which these foods are safe in the strictest sense, only levels where risk becomes more tolerable or statistically harder to detect. On the positive side, this doesn't mean all meat is off the table or that everyone needs to go vegan overnight. Unprocessed meats, especially lean poultry and moderate portions of grass-fed red meats, don't carry the same level of risk when prepared and consumed mindfully. There's also a surge of interest in plant-based meat alternatives and fermentation-based proteins that aim to replicate the taste of processed meats without the carcinogenic compounds. While not perfect, many of these innovations show promise in reducing health risk while still satisfying cravings. The key message here is caution, not panic. The science increasingly supports the idea that the safest amount of processed meat is close to none, but that doesn't mean the occasional indulgence will ruin your health. Still, when assessing long-term patterns and public health guidelines, the weight of evidence suggests that minimizing processed meat is a wise strategy for disease prevention. Your plate doesn't need bacon to be delicious, and your future health may thank you for leaving it off.